Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Dunavant, and today we're going to talk about your personal harmonic type, or what we like to refer to as your RU. Okay, if you haven't already, you should go to mydailyharmonics.com, answer 3 quick questions, and it will tell you which of these 8 psychological types match you most, which of these 8 different types of RUs, and you can see all their characteristics here. So, once you get that type from those 3 questions, you can start to explore your daily harmonics. And of course, harmony is a term we often associate with music, but when systems are in harmony, our lives are in harmony, words come to mind like peace and balance and fulfillment. This is actually across a range of consonants to dissonance. And you can get this with 3 simple questions each day. And the system is, of course, free to individuals. So by now, you should have gone to the site and answered these 3 quick questions about how you perceive the world, how you construct the world, and how you engage the world. And that's going to help you determine your RU type. That RU type is part of an overall self-assessment system where you do this every day, 3 quick questions every day. And you think about your spheres of influence, your relationships, your occupation, and your community. That leads you to what we call harmonic responses. And those harmonic responses will help create a more harmonious life. That occurs across this continuum. Remember, you're leading a consonant life. Where are there pros and cons to this? The centered life or the dissonant life. All of this free for you to explore at mydailyharmonics.com. But today we're here to talk about your RU, which of the 8 RUs you are. Let's go ahead and dive in. So by now you should have visited mydailyharmonics.com and taken the 3-question quiz. And if you did and you identified with the LDA, then you are a Keeparoo. And this is your Keeparoo profile overview. So Keeparoos perceive the world more through logic than through emotion. They construct the world that they perceive through the details that they see. And finally, using that information, they engage the world altruistically, often in the service of others. Keeparoos are very often the protectors of their families or their groups, or what we refer to loosely as the herd. They're very dedicated. They're usually quite observant with that detail mindset and highly reliable individuals, which makes them very strong managers, leaders through those strengths in organization. This is how the Keeparoo perceives, constructs, and engages the world. When we look at the other RUs in comparison, and remember, this is a psychometric instrument. It's grounded in cognitive, affective, and psychomotor theory. It's great to have a cute little character to identify with, but these are things that we use in our mind and how we perceive the world, construct the world, engage the world. And we do it all a bit differently. And here they're represented in the cube across that Cartesian space, or that what we call XYZ axis. But you can see the position of the Keeparoo is in the back right quadrant. If we orient it, it's like a Rubik's Cube where you can see all the different types of RUs. But this is where you're one of the 8 types compared to the other types. And that's going to be important because these are the characteristics or traits that separate you from the other types of RUs in our herd. That gives you a unique mind, right? You have a Keeparoo mind. And this is sort of what we call a mind map, maybe you've seen these before, of a Keeparoo. And surrounding the perception is that logic, that being well grounded and supporting. And as you construct things, you're observers of details and analytically inclined. That creates the engagement through others into that mindset where you're supportive of those others. You're typically very competent leaders. Again, this can be a leader of a family, a leader of a group, or an entire organization. That usually leads to ambition. And many Keeparoos are quite ambitious in that pursuit of supporting others and in the service of others, which makes them great leaders. When we think about how we engage our world on a daily basis, the truth of personality is that the world outside us often changes, and we develop these coping strategies. Many psychologists refer to this as masking. So when we think about harmonic masking, that's a coping strategy that we use to adjust to life's changing demands. The more we have to change from our preferred self, and here you can see the Keeparoo in the upper right, your preference is to be logical, to be detailed, and to be altruistic, making you dedicated, perceptive, and protective. But when conditions merit, you can shift one of those domains kind of a bit more easy than others. So if you change that detail focus to a big vision, you can very quickly become a Visaroo and rely on your courage and your curiosity as you expand your leadership opportunities. Or maybe you need to shift from that logic a little bit more to an emotional mindset and tap into that passion and versatility that is the Morpharoo. And finally, when you shift from that altruistic vision and focus on your individual needs and yourself, you'll be inclined to use that unbiased and candid observational power of the Dataroo. So the Keeparoo can very easily mask as a Visaroo, Morpharoo, or Dataroo, depending on the demands that your life is actually posing before you. So masking as a similar type that you see here is less stressful than the opposite type. It's very, very hard for a Keeparoo to take on the characteristics of a Thriveroo. Thriveroos are opposite in every dimension. As protectors of the herd, you'll often get in conflict with people who are Thriveroos. These Thriveroos regularly challenge the assumptions, values of those families, groups, and organizations. So this concept of personality masking, or what we call harmonic masking, is very important to the overall harmony in your life. A few guidelines for Keeparoos, your LDAs. The things that you tend to like or agree with are pictured here in green, and the things that give you a bit more stress are depicted in red. So when you think about the emotional domain, how you perceive the world, you're doing that by evaluating evidence, and you schedule assessments and define goals. It's part of the organizational preferences of the Keeparoo, like writing down your objectives. You don't like general criticisms. You don't like phrases like "it's not my problem" or just random critiques, and you're probably more likely uncomfortable in emotional outbursts or lengthy commentaries. Phrases like "take it easy" or "you might have done this" or "could," that's not sitting well with the Keeparoo. When you're looking at how you construct the world through holistic versus detail, those analytical discussions and focus on facts are preferred areas and ways of thought. Evaluation and planned innovation, focusing on that details. General criticisms don't sit too well with Keeparoos, or group confrontation, unstructured complaints, we're not good at this, that negativity. When you engage the world, the Keeparoo tends to lean toward that altruism. So they're very good listeners. They're outcomes based. The behavior of specific critiques is okay. You can take criticism, but it needs to be specific. And you enjoy incentives and recognition. You like focusing on an individual action as opposed to saying everybody should do this, or these group-focused commentaries that are vague or general. That's not something that a Keeparoo prefers. So these are all just general guidelines to keep in mind when you're dealing with others. And you can see here for each of these, perception, cognition, and behavior, or how we perceive, construct, and engage the world, you can see the opposites. So if you've got family members, or you've got within your sphere of occupation someone you work with that's on the other side, you can actually get into these interesting situations. I'm sure you all know this as Keeparoos, where it can be challenging to communicate. That's where this tool really shines. It helps you understand that people from different mindsets have different perspectives, but your perspective too can shift, and it can adjust. This is all part of that daily harmonic self-assessment system, free to individuals. Again, mydailyharmonics.com. Every day, just ask yourself these 3 questions and think about what levels that you're at for your particular preferred harmonic type or your natural roo. And then the second step is to give some thought. You can do this weekly or even every day if you want, to what we call those spheres of harmonic influence. And you can find all this for free on the website and print these out where you can see them in detail, or we have a great poster that you can get to help you do this and even journal. But the idea is that you've got this core self, this preferred Roo, and that your relationships with family and significant others, as well as the occupation that you have, whether it's a job or a hobby or what you do professionally, as well as the community and the outside world, those are all spheres of influence that impact your harmony. And as you begin to understand these better, you can develop what we call harmonic responses. And those harmonic responses for the Keeparoo are going to be different than the other types. Keeparoos that are in consonance with their levels of harmonic influence, on a low level, you'll see in the tool, it's a score of 1 to 10. You typically are surrounded by people with like minds and values, whether that's your family or your church or at the job or in your community. That's great because it gives you a lot of comfort and security. But it also leads to a reality where you probably need to challenge your comfort zone and expand your interests to stimulate more activity within your harmonic life. Life is a constant harmonic movement. Other Keeparoos, if you're living in what we call a centered world, those around you still offer some diverse and stimulating experiences, but that at times can lead to individual complacency. Most people think harmony is balance right in the middle, and it's not. Harmony is that shifting scale from consonance to dissonance that life brings, much like most of us enjoy different types of music, different types of food. If you stay right in the middle, that doesn't always lead to a rewarding life. So temporarily embracing ranges of consonance and dissonance is also very healthy. Or maybe you're a Keeparoo living in a dissonant life, where you've got a lot of disruption and tension. Over time, that's not a good thing. Too much of that for too long can wear you down mentally and physically. Most of us know that. But it also creates a chance to reflect and to change, not just those conditions, but yourself. So if you're leading a dissonant life, then you can focus on creativity, fortitude, and courage as you rise to all those different challenges. Again, this is all at mydailyharmonics.com. It's all free. You can download the mind maps and the guides. And once you log into the site and the posters, you can subscribe to our blog. The posters, we have to put a fee on that one to sell it to recoup the cost. But there's a lot happening here for individuals. You'll see periodic online events, employers and organizations, but very free to individuals and a very powerful tool to achieve harmony and sustain harmony in your life. So celebrate your Keeparoo-ness. You are a Keeparoo. And if you haven't taken the quiz, I hope you have, but there are 8 other types, and there'll be a separate little video for each type. You can sign up for the blog, get the guides. We've got stickers and posters and a lot of fun stuff. So as you identify with your type and track it through the personal harmonic system, we know that over time you'll get a better understanding of yourself and the world around you. That's it, my Keeparoo friends. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we look forward to seeing you on our site one more time at mydailyharmonics.com. Until then, embrace your Roo.